We all have stories. Stories inspired by culture, competition, creativity. Stories show our humanity. They inspire us to greatness and remind us to be humble. Stories connect us to our communities and the rest of the world. We are the Chata people, and these are our stories. See and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
It's called Hollywood! Lights, camera, action! Hollywood Brown! CD Lamb still running! Hits a corner! CD! For the TD!
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Through the Keyhole. Guess what? We're live on YouTube. Oh my gosh. Everyone can see us, not just the patrons. Oh, did I say it? Did I say 6-7?
No, I'm just doing it. You just got to do it.
Wait. This is live?
It's live.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, we're on the air right now? Oh.
I don't believe you.
Anyway, no FCC for us. Welcome to the show. It's an Oklahoma football podcast and YouTube show. We're doing this a little bit special for our free listeners out there. If you've been with the show, if you've been with Through the Keyhole for at least a few months, you know that we've added the live stream portion feature to the Tuesday show. It is typically, excuse me, as I lose my voice, typically exclusive in terms of the live aspect of the live stream. Exclusive for our patrons, which you can become one at patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. But it's the last show of the year. We've done zillions of these this year. We thought it might be a good idea to just give everybody, let's give a lot of other people an opportunity to go check out the live stream, see if they like it, and maybe add them to the fold moving forward. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Keyhole Sports, so you can see this when it comes out. Also, and future reference, like I said, this is typically, like the live stream is typically exclusive for our patrons. You can always still watch the show on YouTube. You just have to wait for us to put it up afterwards, just like when the podcast drops on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which, hey, leave us a 5-star rating and review on those. We would greatly appreciate that. Shout out to our title sponsor, the Choctaw Nation. You saw their lovely ad right as the show began. Thank you to the Choctaw Nation once again for their partnership. Go to togetherwe'remore.com, as I can try to say that correctly with my hick accent, Peyton. Try to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this month, starting January 1, you'll get to read and watch a story about Charles Shadle, MIT composer, Choctaw tribal member up there in Boston. We got a chance to visit with him over the last summer and tell the story. He does some compositions based on some like traditional Choctaw hymnals and some music notes and stuff he's been able to find. He does some really cool stuff with school age children, like developing some music and stuff they can play like in early music classes. Overall, pretty interesting story. Just go check it out. Trying to break those stereotypes one by one.
One by one. We appreciate that, Peyton. Peyton does a great job. That is Peyton Guthrie, by the way. I've done a bad job hosting the show. I wanted to get a lot of stuff out of my head first, but we've got Peyton Guthrie up there. Matt Burton, you are wearing a different hat than the one you were wearing when I was with you for the last 3 hours.
It's a very astute observation. I was testing you to see if you would notice that, and you did, and I'm very flattered, actually.
Well, I mean, all I did was stare at you at the franchise for about 3 hours. Jimmy, hello. Thank you in the chat. Thank you, Hype Man Harry. No problems, my man. And thank you for the new sub, Susan. Appreciate that. And then, of course, Alan Kinney, the fourth horseman, is also present. Alan, only a few more days left in 2025. Are you excited to see 2026, or are you like, 2025 is actually kind of fun, I want to stay here?
I don't want to stay in 2025. I'm ready to move on, but I'm happy.
Why?
Look, man, every day I have, I'm happy, man. So it could be 20, it could be 2023, it could be 2029. My guess is if I'm above ground, I'll be smiling, just living it up.
Which again, that was the first thing you said when I asked you. So how does it feel after OU loses their playoff game down there? Like, I'm alive.
Well,
Yeah. And man, I've been filling in on the franchise the last 2 weeks. We've of course been doing the show since OU has lost their playoff game. Guys, we are waiting for OU to do something in the portal. Please give us something to react to. And not the Russian guy who played basketball last night against Mississippi Valley State. I don't speak yet. Not yet. But it is the last show for Through the Keyhole in the year 2025, Anno Domini. And so we thought, well, yay, New Year's, yay. Do all the fun stuff, the champagnes. So we thought we need to have some New Year's resolutions ourselves for the Oklahoma Sooners. And we're going to kind of keep this to the window of the next month or two. So, of course, that includes the portal opening and closing and OU having an opportunity to sign players out of the portal or to maybe wave goodbye to some players, unfortunately, wave goodbye to some other people that have an OU coach's polo on during games. Maybe we'll get there when we get there. But, all that to say, if your resolution is John Mateer makes incredible, is a Heisman Trophy candidate, it's well, we're not going to find out that until fall football season. So let's try to keep it to a relatively tight window here. But Matt, we just talked about OU football for about 2 of the 3 hours we were on the radio. So I'm going to give you a chance. What for Oklahoma, for Brent Venables, for Jim Nagy, what is your first resolution?
My first resolution, we actually talked about this a little bit earlier today. Whatever OU's version of going all in for 2026 is, do that. Do it. Go all in the portal, whatever that version is. Now, when I say that, I think a lot of people automatically go to hey, get Cam Coleman, right? Go get him and all that stuff, which is why I added the qualifier of whatever all in looks like for OU, because I don't think that's what all in would look like for OU. So push all those chips in. Push those chips into the center because we looked at the 2026 schedule. While difficult, yes, there's 9 conference games now, and you play Michigan again. There's a lot of turnover in the coaching ranks, and Brady, you made a point of, and maybe Shane Beamer's fired from South Carolina by the time that game gets played next season. So, you got, looks like you got your offensive coordinator back. So that'll be nice to have some stability there in that spot. And another guy that, Ben Arbuckle's just 30 years old, right? He needed some seasoning too, got some experience as well as John Mateer did. So some stability, but whatever OU's version is, I know that's really vague and everything like that, but whatever
it is, get off the fence.
Whatever OU's version of going all in the portal is for 2026 to capitalize on what you just did this season, you got to do it.
Man, that really makes me scared, Matt. Whatever OU thinks going all in means, to me, that could potentially mean let's go hire Selman as the new athletic director. Bob isn't coaching the Renegades anymore, so let's make him special advisor to the head coach, pay him some more money. And Bob's brother is out of a job, which means his other brother is also out of a job. So let's give them jobs too. Come bring the OU family back. That would be scary, but I get what you're saying. Alan, yours is right here on the dock, and man, you were asking for a lot. You're asking for a lot, so I'm gonna let you. The floor is yours.
So I would like for Oklahoma to find a starting caliber tight end who can. I've got 2 things here.
Oh no!
Block and catch.
Oh,
okay, it can't be. It can't. I mean, look. If it comes down to do I want one who can block or who can catch, I think I'm actually going to take blocking. But I don't think I'm asking for too much to find a tight end who can do both.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get a date with Rihanna in 2026, Alan. Okay.
Is your wife watching this?
No, hopefully she didn't hear that, or else I'll hear about that
Never
later.
watched this. She would never watch this. No.
That door's gonna slam open right behind Matt. He's not even gonna know. Oh no. Yeah, tight end who can block. That would be the ground, right? Like, I'm still Austin Stogner, Bauer Sharp. How are you guys this big and you can't block well? That doesn't make sense to me. And yet OU's had big like run blocking tight ends, which is just code for they're not athletic whatsoever, but they're big, so they should be able to block, and they still can't find any fortune with that. So, I mean, Alan, right off the bat, like, is that just kind of a string of bad luck in terms of evaluations, or is it something greater in terms of OU not being able to find a tight end that can do, let alone both, but at least one of those things consistently?
Well, I don't have a definitive answer as to if it's bad luck or not. However, at this point, given the string, I mean, I'm not adverse to making a change in the person who is evaluating and coaching up those players.
Maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later. I think was it Jimmy in the chat mentioned his resolution. Again, we might touch on that a little bit later. Peyton, what's your first one?
First one for me is one. You said we're waiting for OU to do something in the portal. The portal officially doesn't open until the 2nd. My assumption is there'll be a waterfall of news at that point in time for Oklahoma.
Friday news.
First and foremost, Oklahoma needs 3 to 4 linebackers to fill that room out. So getting something in the way of positive momentum there. My assumption is there is. I've heard KSU, some other Colorado State, a couple other guys. But, all the discords, it's just like every time somebody pops in, everyone's like, ooh, this guy would be good. Ooh, this guy would be good. It's like, I just want to see, let's get a couple of linebackers and let's get a good idea of where we're going for. That'd be my first stop. Brent Venables runs a very linebacker heavy defense, puts a lot of pressure on those guys. So getting that and moving forward, I think is a good step.
I mean, Peyton, do you have any, like you just said, every time someone hits the portal, you see the picture on Twitter of a player entering the portal, and then half the time we see our good friend Red Dirt Sport with the dog with the OU jersey on in the mentions. Which is like, do they like covered wagons? That's always the question that we're asking. Is there a linebacker or two that you've got your eye on that you actually think they would look good in Crimson and Cream?
Oh man, no, I'm not that deep into it. To be honest with you, I really wish I was for that side. As very little as I report to recruiting, even less on the portal.
Well, in terms of what I've seen, people with opinions that share their opinions on a consistent basis, I'll just say there seems to be a lot of at least desire. I don't know about traction, but at least desire for the Clemson kid. Is that Sammy Brown? Yeah, that kid, and then the linebacker from Kansas State, which white linebacker from Kansas State, be still my heart, Brent Venables. So maybe something like that. I mean, really, Peyton, this is much better in terms of what Jim Nagy has to do in the portal if Kip Lewis comes back, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really helps out on that side. If they can kind of get this linebacker core kind of figured out, and maybe if God smiles upon OU and our fandom, he convinces NCAA not to count lacrosse as like a real sport. You have a decent linebacker room at that point in time. So that would be, to me, that's pretty good. There's some other spots I think we'll get into later about different position groups and stuff. It's just OU's losing a lot of talent there. And even then, I think Brady, maybe a couple of weeks ago, you're like, man, it seems like a lot of people are leaving. I think only reportedly Oklahoma only has 10 departures via the portal. There's NFL draft and stuff coming out. So when you look at Iowa State or Florida State, where it's 45 players leaving, OU doesn't have a lot to replace. It's just there's a room that needs to be completely flipped, which is a little bit different than some of the other places that aren't losing that much.
Yeah, that's the fear, because I mean, Peyton, you would say this a lot when we would talk about like offenses under Lincoln Riley and then shifting over to Jeff Lebby. Like Jeff Lebby, statistically speaking, good offensive coordinator because the numbers speak for themselves. But you would often say, yeah, you're going from number one, number two, like SP plus, like every metric, best offense in the country under Lincoln Riley to a top 5 or top 10 offense in Jeff Lebby, which is great, but it's a very noticeable drop off. And I think that if OU stands to lose all their limes and get the decision from the NCAA that we all want to hear, if Kip Lewis decides to go to the NFL draft, and OU has to basically build that room back up with portal entries. I mean, one, you're hoping that they hit in Brent Venables' scheme, and 2, they play well together. So there's a lot of things that you're hoping for. So going back to the original point, though, Peyton, we could potentially see like a defense that was top 3, top 4, top 5 in the country in whatever metric you want to look at, could take a step back into, top 10 or top 15, which would be very visible to OU fans, because then you're asking the offense to make a significant jump to counterbalance that.
Yeah, I could see the I won't say fear. I can see the concern of like, okay, now Brent is having to call a different style of offense, of defense, maybe a little more blitz heavy. Maybe there's a couple more busts because of that. I would think, based on what I can see on the show document of what Allen's going to say for number 2, I think Oklahoma up front has enough beef and enough talent to where they can kind of keep everything rolling pretty good on that side. And the linebackers can kind of walk their way into it, right? I mean, you're going to have decent corners. You're going to have pretty good safeties. You're going to be in a spot to where you might be able to survive that linebacker room not having what was Kip, like the 4th best player on the defense? I mean, we've talked about because he makes plays and stuff, but there's some guys who are making some very impactful stuff for him to be able to produce that are still here, right? And there's at least for one more year down the road.
And that kind of begs the question of, and Alan, I'll ask you this. That kind of begs the question has Brent Venables at Oklahoma, not necessarily his entire career, and recently Clemson, more recently than his time at OU the first time, but has Brent Venables now done enough as a defensive coach, as a developer, talent evaluator, all those things, to essentially attract a lot of those big names that are going to be in the portal, like at whatever position on defense, similar to once Lincoln Riley got it rolling at OU in terms of quarterback play with Baker and Kyler. It's like every 5-star quarterback wanted to come to Norman. Every big-time quarterback that was hitting the portal was, photoshopped in an Oklahoma Sooner jersey. Like, has Brent done that enough to, you're going to lose Grayson Holton. That's going to be a big-time loss and a big question for them to answer in terms of being able to replace him. But if there is somebody out there that is pretty damn good, has Brent done enough now in 4 years to, like, get those guys to want to come to Norman because of the track record?
Yeah, this is kind of a do you know ball type thing, right? Because, I mean, everybody knew Lincoln Riley just because of the quarterbacks, right? I mean, quarterback is a glamour position, so it makes sense that you'd have offensive skill talent in particular kind of flock into OU, right? Defense is a little different, right? I think that over time, Brent Venables has established a track record of being, a coach who defensive players would want to come play for. Especially you look at some of the stats, you look at some of the opportunities you get to kind of make those big impact, highlight reel type plays. I mean, he predicates his entire defense on being able to disrupt the offense, which, starts with, making tackles in the backfield, sacks, turnovers. Those are the kinds of things that, really kind of pop, right, for a guy who, if you're looking for a new place to play. So I would think so. The one question is, is OU sending enough players to the NFL at this point from the defensive side of the ball, or is that still kind of you're kind of betting on spec? I'm not. That part is still kind of up for debate.
Yeah, I mean, Texas is seeing that problem right now where they had the initial strong wave of talent come in once Sark got there, and they've not really been able to have that pivot or that transition of talent, because I mean, there's a reason why they sucked on the offensive line this year. There's a reason why some of their skill talent kind of dropped off the face of the earth. There's a reason why their defensive line has, not been able to be as good or as dominant as they were in that second, third, and fourth year under Sark. So, I mean, that's going to be a big question for Brent. Is he going to be able to transition that talent away from, like, you lose Dominic Williams and Grayson Halton? Was the strength of the defense mainly to deal with the depth aspect of David Stone, Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams, Grayson Halton? They get to play 20 or 30 snaps, so they have fresh legs. Is that the strength, or is the strength going to be you're just going to get more of David Stone and Jaden Jackson for the most part next year? Like, we're going to find that out. So, I mean, whatever the case, if there's a great defensive player, OU wants them, they're probably going to at least get an audience. So you got to start there. All right, Matt, we're going to do two more. What's your second one?
Okay. Did you do yours? Did I miss yours?
Oh, you're right.
I was about to say, I wanted to get yours out there.
Okay, well, I have one written down first, but I'm going to do that one second since we're already kind of talking about the defense. Kip Lewis to come back. If Kip Lewis can come back, I think you feel a whole lot better considering the talent that they have to replace on defense. Just because, like Peyton said, Kip Lewis makes a lot of plays, but is he the most important integral player of the defense? No. Is he the best player on the defense? No. But he's more than just an emotional leader with how, like, visibly emotional he is on the field. He's a hype man, but he also plays extremely well because early in Kip's career, I mean, I was excited about Kip Lewis. I was afraid that please don't turn into Travis Lewis, because Travis was kind of in that same vein. And then he went from like redshirt freshman year, like all the way up here. And then like sophomore, junior, senior year, just kind of progressively not as exciting. But Kip Lewis is the opposite of that. He's an awesome player. And if he can come back, then he's going to be on the short list for all these defensive awards, the Butkus Award. If he puts up a similar season like he did this past year, he may very well be a Butkus finalist, just because he'll have that whole offseason and preseason of hype to build up towards it. He helps OU's defense be better. And then also, like Peyton and I were mentioning earlier, if Kip comes back, then you have one less linebacker body you have to replace out of the portal and hope that they all work together. If Kip is there, you're kind of working with something. Just as a real quick question to the group, in the event that they do lose Kip and Owen Heineke, are you guys holding out hope that maybe they kind of DM Kobe McKenzie and say, hey, you sure you want to leave? Like, here's some money. Owen Heineke isn't here to take your job anymore. Like, are you guys holding out hope for that? Or is that ship sailed?
I'm okay with Kobe moving on. And I don't mean that. That's not me saying, denigrating anything he contributed to OU, but I think that, I'm not sure if he really is what OU needs in a modern defensive, linebacker, interior linebacker.
Even with the experience, if you stand to lose all that experience.
Yeah, you can find experience, right? I mean, it might not be Oklahoma experience, but you can find experience in the portal right now.
That's true. Okay. All right, Matt, what's your second one?
My second one is along the defensive line, but it's for PJ Adibarwe or Danny Okoye to become the fully realized version of what we thought that they were going to be. One of those two guys blossoming, if you will. Both would be nice. But that's like asking, like Allen did, for a tight end who can block and catch at the same time. That would be, that's a lot. But one of PJ or Danny Okoye, because man, it's gonna be tough. I think. I mean, you're losing R. Mason Thomas, obviously. Everyone knows what he's capable of. But I thought Marvin Jones Jr. did some good things for OU as well. You're losing both of those guys. They're on the edge. Obviously, returning Taylor Wine, which would be a huge, huge help for that defense yet again. But someone on the opposite side has to step up, and I would love nothing more than for it to be either PJ or Danny Okoye.
I mean, is the more likely candidate for that Danny Okoye? Is that, I
Probably.
mean,
If we're talking about like replacing what R. Mason Thomas does, I just don't know if PJ's ever going to get there. I don't know if he's going to get to that. I think Okoye is kind of a freaky athlete that can do some special things.
Yeah, PJ strikes me as more as like your traditional 5-tech strong side defensive end, with the way he's built and all that stuff. It seems to me like you could turn Okoye into more of a disruptor, kind of in the same vein as R. Mason Thomas.
yeah, I mean, I think PJ's closer to what he's going to be, which is still I think a really good player in this defense. He's not. Is he a bust because he's not the 5-star like NFL top 5 pick? I mean, yes, because he's not that. Is he a bust in terms of him being not a good player or not a great contributor? Like, no, I think he could definitely be that, and he's going to have more opportunities next year. I think Danny Okoye, just because he only really scratched the surface for the first time this year, I think he just stands to have a higher ceiling. The dude looks, I mean, he looks very, very physically imposing. He's still growing in his body. So I'm expecting some big things from him. So, I mean, we'll see. Okay. Alan, what's number 2?
Let's see here. Number 2 for me, I believe, is find. Okay, again, this is kind of a moonshot. 2 defensive linemen who can be rotation players. I don't think that you need superstars or even starters, but those guys who will give you play kind of the 3rd, 4th, guys who can rotate in. I mean, part of the dominance I feel like that we saw from OU's defensive line this season started with the fact that they could roll a lot of bodies out at you. And on top of that, when a guy like Jaden Jackson went down, not for a long time, but was on the shelf, you're able to roll new guys in there and still really not miss a beat.
Yeah, not to be forgotten. I mean, Marcus Strong played well in the handful of snaps he would get a game, and he was very much a part of why OU had that depth advantage at that position. So he's going to get more opportunities. So you hope that he's able to make a jump in winter and spring, summer, stay healthy. If he's able to make that jump, then you're just asking, if you get 2 defensive linemen, you're asking just at least one of them to be a solid rotational guy, and you're right back to where you were last year. Maybe not as much on the high end in terms of not having Grayson Halton, but you still have 2 of the best defensive linemen in the country, just with Jaden and David. So good spot to be in for sure. Peyton, what's your second one?
What was my second one? My second one is...
Seems like tight end is a theme here.
Yeah. But mine's very specific because I think it's funny. And I think that the jersey would do really well, especially if he's number 2 or number 6 or number 12. Go out and get Colorado State tight end Rocky Beers. It'd be nice. Get a couple of beers if you guys saw the SNL skit. I think that'd be really nice. I think that jersey would do pretty good for the NIL fund on that side. Go out and give me a couple of beers. That'd be nice.
In a couple of seasons, OU will have had a General Booty and a Rocky Beers. I'm just saying. OU's killing it with the name game.
Well, I really wonder, how much? I really wish we could find out how much money General Booty made in NIL, like in the merchandise he would sell. Because you'd think, okay, some of these kids are going to make a lot of money because they've got interesting names or whatever, and I really wonder if that's actually a thing. Now I say
he had that underwear deal that my wife told me about. I don't know.
Peyton, are you wearing some General Booties right now?
I am not. That one passed me by.
Oh, what a shame. What a missed opportunity. I mean, I say that, and then I remember when Spencer Rattler launched his little merch line, because if you remember, this was the first time ever that you could buy merchandise of a college football player in college and I remember I bought a t-shirt of his to give away to a patron, which we did. I think that's when Keegan and I were running through the Keyhole, and we did something, and then it was like, some patron won this shirt, and that happened at the beginning of the 21 season. And I remember in season that patron responding to one of the Monday posts or whatever, thanks for the shirt, but man, because at that point it was Caleb Williams. It's like, man, I don't know why I have this shirt anymore. So, and also, is Rocky Beers, is he related? Is he Reagan Beers' brother? Is that what I keep seeing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the connection. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know ball in this instance because I'm not. I know this person's name. I don't know how good they are.
Oh, he would just be a fine player. I don't think it's anything where he's lighting the world on fire. He'd be, could get his nose in the run game, could, catch the pass, not something, just nice, simple, set a foundation for a tight end room.
Well, speaking of the tight end room, my second one, and look, I don't want people to lose their jobs, but like I always say when it comes to coaches losing their jobs, when they get fired or they whatever, this is not the 70s when dad comes home and says, sorry, guys, the factory closed. We are all screwed. All these guys get jobs immediately. They're like they may not get the same gig. They may not get a flashy gig, but they get gigs and they get a lot of money to do so. And with that said, Joe John just needs to go. Like we're way past this point now. Like the interesting thing is if you compare it to the DeMarco Murray situation, like in the running back room, at least DeMarco Murray has skins on the wall in addition to the injury mulligan that he seems to always have. Like, oh, we had injuries. We had injuries. And that's fine every once in a while, but every single time. So with Joe John, it's you had Braden Willis. You inherited him, and he was an individually good player. And then you were not able to build off of anything with that. Austin Stogner was not good post staph infection. Unfortunately for him, he was not good at South Carolina. He was damn sure not good at OU the second go around. The Bauer Sharp thing was an embarrassment. And let's be real, it really seems like Brent Venables held on to Joe John Finley because Joe John took one on the chin. It had to be the interim OC, and Brent probably took that. He took the brunt of that responsibility, and rightfully so. But at the same time, it's like if you're trying to actually run a program like a blue blood at OU, I'm sorry, you got to be more cutthroat. And I hand waved all right, keep him for this year. But I mean, seriously, unless something drastic happens, you got to let him go, because not to disparage the Oklahoma Breakdown pod with Teddy and Gabe, but they had their kind of similar segment on one of their recent episodes of what's the biggest position of need in the portal. And it was, they need to go get a tight end that can do all these magical things that OU tight ends under Joe John Finley cannot do. So all I heard in that episode was OU needs to magically get a tight end that they what tight end wants to play for Joe John Finley? What great tight end wants to play in this offense? Because that one doesn't exist. Or you're magically hoping for somebody that Joe John Finley and this staff have recruited to magically be good. And any one of those things is possible, just like it's possible for any one of us to win the lottery. So, I hate it. He's a former Sooner, but my God, there are just no results. There's nothing to lean on. There's nothing to hang your hat on. No cliches. If OU wants to upgrade in the tight end room, they need to divorce themselves from Joe John Finley. If they don't do that, then expect a lot of the same things that we've been seeing. And Jaron Kanik was third team all SEC. That's good. Jaron Kanik is just individually talented. And based on everything that we have heard from Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle, and Jaron Kanik is the person who made that decision to ask Brent Venables to switch to offense, not Joe John, not even Ben Arbuckle. None of them went up to him and said, hey, man, I think you'd be good at tight end. And let's be real. Anytime Jaron Kanik was asked to do tight end duties, his lack of size kept him from doing it. So it wasn't like Joe John Finley developed on the fly the third team all SEC tight end. So even that, you can't hang your hat on. If OU wants to get better at tight end, they need to rid themselves of Joe John Finley. If they don't do that, then they're just going to be the same. So it is what it is. Does anybody disagree?
No, not at all.
I mean, at this point, I guess, Alan, you're just hoping for a tight end that can block. And Stoya at Scoop is doing the I can't remember the kid's name, the Florida tight end that's in the portal, who apparently is a really good run blocker. I would just say, like, why would he want to come play for Joe John? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I guess that's one of those ones you were asking me earlier about, Brent being able to just kind of have that cachet to attract anybody, right, on the defense. This is one of those things where now you're thinking, okay, if OU wants to get a tight end who can really contribute, you're going to have to pay that premium with the NIL money. And, I guess it's just one of those things that maybe just have to swallow, but we'll see. The kid's name, by the way, from Florida is Hayden Hansen.
Mbop.
Big mbop guy. I'm surprised they don't play that in the stadium.
New fourth quarter song. I'm down.
No.
Quick Hansen aside. I was at a Thunder game last year, maybe 2 years ago in the playoffs, and Hansen was the halftime performers. They sang one of their new songs, and then they covered Thunderstruck, and they got out of there. And whenever they were leaving, you could hear the collective, like, they're not playing Mbop. What the fuck is this? it was like there's a collective groan from the crowd being like, what the hell is going on?
Is Hanson like Pearl Jam? Because Pearl Jam's like one of those bands where they will go out of their way to not play all their songs off 10, like all the hits. They're like, yeah, we don't want to do that. We're going to play like folk music that Eddie Vedder wrote on the 17th album. It's like, no, play Yellow Ledbetter.
Yeah, come on.
These are $400. Play Black.
Yeah, right.
This is an outrage. No, I went to one of the Thunder games I covered. Hinder played halftime.
Yes.
And I don't know. I'm not abreast to Hinder lore, but apparently they're on their third or fourth lead singer, and it's not the guy from the like Lips of an Angel song. Madison Byford, my Thunder partner at the time, man, she damn near cried seeing them. She was like, just, when Usher's playing like the Grammys and it cuts to like a woman in the front row and she's bawling.
Yes.
Yeah, that was her.
That was Madison.
Yeesh. Any other like random resolutions, Alan Payton, that you can think of?
No, tight end,
A running game would be nice. Running game would be really nice.
Well,
feels like a lot to ask for.
Okay, I spent 5 minutes almost on Joe John. I mean, Peyton, is DeMarco in the same boat for you, or I mean, what's your now that 2025 is behind us and we can see the entirety of his career up to this point at OU? Like, what's DeMarco for you?
Oh, well, I'm not really sure on DeMarco. I know he's obviously caught the ear or the eye of hypercritical OU fans, or just casual Oklahoma fans. To be honest with you, my position on like wide receivers and running backs specifically are they're either great immediately or you need to get another one. Yeah, I mean, that's just my general opinion. I don't think it's like, he's a junior now. Now he can hurdle over people. It's like either they're Adrian Peterson or DeMarco Murray or, Samaj P. Ryan, immediately, or they're just backup guys who rotate in and out. And I would say Oklahoma has basically been in a spot to where the talent they thought was going to hit the way it's hit either has been crippled by injury or honestly by situation, offensive line injuries, or they just haven't necessarily been able to be the people they thought they were at that point in time. Now, I think Xavier is pretty good, but you keep hearing rumors. That's like, I think someone even popped up on our side saying, hey, there's maybe something's kind of going on that side. But, Blaylock, he gets banged up. But I was excited about Barnes when as a freshman. Like, he was running hard. He'd run the linebackers. He'd hit them. And now all of a sudden he's like, well, he just never got any better from that. I don't think those positions develop the same way a quarterback does or a linebacker or a safety does, where there's a lot of mental processing going on in those positions where you, through reps, you get better, Yeah. It's either you're there or you're not. And that's usually dependent upon physicality and how they mature physically via strength and conditioning and things of that, and how their body responds to stuff like that. So, I'm not for sure. I think Blaylock's a really good guy. I'm a really good player. I think he'll be good for player for Oklahoma. But the OU historian on Twitter shared the top freshman record, the last time a freshman led the Oklahoma in rushing. He had 380 yards or something. It's okay, yeah, this was just a rough situation when we're used to a Samaje Perine having 1900 or whatever. So it's just a tough business overall.
I mean, Alan, is it unfair for me to not completely hand wave DeMarco Murray's coaching, lack thereof, of the Jade Knott situation? Because DeMarco seems to get a pass when it comes to Jade Knott because, well, I mean, that was a Nagy haul. DeMarco probably didn't want Jade Knott, but I'm sorry. We were all excited for Jade Knott. Everybody was, not just OU fans. That was a big reason why a lot of people had some optimism about Oklahoma. Was they brought in Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer, and they got Jade Knott. That was a big reason why. And yeah, it didn't work out. It didn't work out at all. But I mean, that's not completely and utterly not DeMarco's fault. He's his coach. And I mean, get him to want to play the damn sport. Get him to be good. That's your job. And like Peyton's mentioning, Tory Blaylock leads the team in rushing with 400 some odd yards. That's not very good. He got injured, just then Xavier Robinson got injured. And it's so that's all we have? Because the other reason why DeMarco Murray gets a pass is, well, he recruits really well. When people say that, what they mean is he got a 5-star that one year, and that 5-star is Taylor Tatum, who had 1 snap this year. He somehow played less than Jade Knott. So I don't understand the hand waving as it relates to DeMarco and Jade Knott, considering that he's his coach.
Yeah, that's a classic kind of question. Whose fault is that when a player's underperforming? Is it the player for not being able to, or is it the coach? I mean, the coach is also one getting paid too, right? I mean, to bring out the best in these guys. It's there's something about though the situation with Ott to me, it just didn't add up, and it goes beyond anything that a position coach could have, I think, done. That's just me looking at from the outside without any inside knowledge. But the idea that Ott that Ott would need to be motivated by the position coach to get out there, and I mean, and what should be, the equivalent of a contract year for him, that to me just doesn't add up. So I'm willing to give DeMarco a pass on that one. But I mean, the rest of it, it's just one of these things where I don't know whether I should be more frustrated with DeMarco because he's landing players that recruits, a running back that people actually want that aren't producing, or a guy like John Finley who was picking the bones at Kennesaw State or whatever, and trying to make something with that. Neither situation feels particularly satisfying to me. I mean, I just, I'm probably more at the end of my rope with the tight end position than the running back at this point. But if OU moved on from DeMarco, I can't say I'd be shedding any tears.
Yeah, and I mean, because look, I think Tory Blaylock and Xavier Robinson are good running backs. I think that they're proven in the SEC at this point. I mean, the big question is, can they stay healthy? But that's a question for every single player that steps onto the field. Can they be healthy for a year? And if both of them, or if one of them is healthy, OU's in a good position to have a good running game. If the offensive line makes the jump that I think we're all assuming that they're going to make with more experience, they stand to be a much better offensive line in 2026. And this is the first year in at least the last 2 years that OU is going into a season where offensive line is not one of the biggest weaknesses, at least on paper. So that should be good. And I'm excited for Jonathan Hatton, just like a lot of people are excited for him as a true freshman this coming year. But I mean, injuries have been a thing in that room for a long time, and you're going to need more than 2, maybe 3 guys, as we learned this past year. So, I mean, I wish Ohio State would actually hire him instead of flirt around was that even a thing, or was that just DeMarco having a good agent? No, we'll find out. Yeah, I mean, everyone in the chat is basically echoing like what the frustrations of OU fans, like for the most part, of just like, why wasn't he able to handpick his staff? It's kind of weird to mesh former Stoops coaches with former Stoops players with Ben Arbuckle and the QB coach that he brought over, Kuzieski. Little odd. I don't know. I don't know who Ben Arbuckle's guys are. And I don't know. I'm sure he's got ideas of who he'd like to hire as a tight end coach or as a running back coach. I think he probably likes Bill Bedenbaugh, but Peyton, we were happy with Michael Fasusi and Eddie Pierre-Louis and Ryan Foje for playing not like freshmen because they didn't get destroyed. Like we've seen freshman offensive linemen get destroyed a handful of times over the last 20 years. But they're certainly they certainly weren't amazing at everything. Like there's a lot of room for improvement. So yeah, good on Bill Bedenbaugh for finding talent. But now it's just like, now you got to coach them and make sure that they're as good at run blocking as they were at pass blocking, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a little more rosy on the offensive line, and there's a question you're going to ask a little bit later, which may seem I'm going to contradict this statement immediately. I'm pretty generally rosy because you're right. It's about getting talent and getting them in and go for it. I mean, the last 2 to 3 years, Oklahoma has been not even on the back foot of just we just need human bodies who are large enough to be on. I mean, Spencer Brown should in no way, shape, or form ever have been able to wear an OU helmet, right? But they just needed a human body that size. It just had to get it. And also, we also have to remember, I don't know, there's the slow adoption of things by OU, right? I mean, being very, very slow when it comes to NIL, having a coach who doesn't really, Bedenbaugh like historically or maybe infamously not liking the NIL recruitment and stuff like that. And now that's been completely decoupled from the coaches. They don't have to worry about that. Coach says, hey, the player says, how much? And they say, let me get the general manager on the phone for you. I mean, they don't have to worry about that stuff. And they mainly, and to a certain degree from what we were kind of hearing in this kind of a breakdown, they don't have to worry about recruiting all that much. Right? It's more like you talk to them from like, here's how we're going to coach you and here's how we're going to develop you. But you got this other recruiting staff and other scouting staff. So it really opens them up to be more of just a coach. And I think that's where Bill succeeds on a very high level, right? When you can just remove him out and say, just coach him. Don't worry about the other stuff. We got it, on that side. So I'm a little more rosy on that. I think it's going to go pretty well. You've got the 3 guys who should be playing for you for another 2 years, and never leave the field. So you have that pretty much taken care of to a certain degree. But you're right. It has to improve. You got to go forward. You've got the talent there. 2026 is a big year for Oklahoma. And that's why, like I said a little bit later on the show, I might seem like I'm contradicting myself. But you've got to, that's got to produce on the field.
We go from positions that need to produce with the talent that OU has already on the roster for the time being, knock on wood, because it is the transfer portal era and Caden Green happened once, to positions that need to be replenished via the portal. So very simple question for you, and I'll start with you, Matt. What is the position? Okay, let's just say that OU's NIL allotment, the amount of money that they have to throw at potential players. And let's also hopefully assume that if there are any like detrimental departures to the roster, it's just Kip Lewis and Isaiah Satania, like one of them, or if not both of them, they're the ones that they just go to the draft. OU doesn't lose Eddie Pierre-Louis to the portal. Like that would be like, damn it, no. Or they don't lose PG Adebarwe to the portal. Like nothing surprisingly detrimental. So as it stands right now, what is the position where you're like, you need to give anywhere from 40 to 60% of that NIL bag to that position alone?
Oh man. Well, I don't know. Maybe you would have to pay that for a top tight end. But I just don't know who's out there. Tight end for sure. I mean, there's like nobody in that room. There's nobody. So you have to have somebody there. To be honest with you, but whenever you say, if you put it that way, like Isaiah Satania goes to the NFL, then I think I kind of lean more toward wide receiver. But I don't know. I'm also kind of bullish on Elijah Thomas. Like maybe they can figure it out in the next year, whatever. But I mean, at tight end, there's literally just nobody in that room right now. So I would have to say that.
I think we're at least 1 year away from having the Emmett Jones conversation. In the event that Elijah Thomas doesn't do anything, or anybody else that they've recruited out of high school to catch passes, if they don't get onto the field, we'll have the same conversations we had about DeMarco and Joe John this time next year about Emmett Jones. Alan, are you in line with Matt, like wide receiver, or do you see something else more important?
I think I'm going to say wide receiver also, just because I feel like I kind of lukewarm as I was about John Mateer's performance this season. I'm willing to also acknowledge like he wasn't necessarily working with the best crop of receivers out there. That can make a big difference for a quarterback. So that's where I'd lean. Almost against my better angels, wanting to say like offensive line, defensive line, just because of the trenches, and that's just where you always. I think you should be your priority. In this case, though, I'm willing to go with wide receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good philosophy to have to kind of pivot away from what we're taught, which is football is won in the trenches. OU seems to have it kind of down right now as it stands with their 3 freshman offensive linemen, and then, of course, the talent that they have on defense that's proven. They seem to have it. If OU is going to be better than they were this year, it's going to be because John Mateer plays better. And part of that might just be like he's just healthier, because there's no doubt he's a better quarterback than what he showed when he was healthy. Like would he have been Baker? No. Would he have been as bad as he was like during the middle of the year if he had never been hurt? I don't think so. We still probably lose to Texas. We still might lose to Ole Miss. We still might have the same record, but I think we all feel better about John Mateer if he just never got hurt. But if OU's going to be better, it's going to be because John Mateer has a good year. He's a better year. And that happens partly because he makes improvements, but mainly because OU surrounds him with talent, that it makes his job easier, and that some of his inaccurate passes can be mossed over by maybe they get a creature at wide receiver, or maybe Elijah Thomas ends up being that guy, or maybe Giovanni Gibson played kind of in a similar state to John Mateer where he was coming back from injury and he was not near what he's capable of, because everybody with access sure loved Giovanni Gibson in the offseason. And then he was a good player. He's a good player in the offense, wasn't anywhere near what anyone hyped him to be. So it really is going to come down to John Mateer getting surrounded by talent. Peyton, what position do you want?
To me, it is your interior offensive line, guard, and center. You can't run an offense without an offensive line. From that side. So it's like it'd be great to have all these wide receivers, but if your quarterback's on his ass, it really doesn't matter. So I think that's bread and butter. I know a lot of people, even you look at priority list, it's like, man, that wide receiver group needs something. My reason for say offensive line is mainly due to I'll lean into my being in Southeast Oklahoma, a little bit of my conservative upbringing, even though I very much so don't lean that way. There's a scarcity of big, huge people who can move in a certain way. And if you can find one, you should pay them and go that way. I think there's a more of a, I guess, as our client would say, an abundance of smaller, faster people, right? So I think you might be able to gather some wide receiver talent in a way that could be a little more surprising, as opposed to saying, let's get a mauler at the offensive line, which can withstand the defensive play that Oklahoma will see, in conference play against SEC defensive linemen. I mean, even the bad teams, right? Even the bad teams have first round NFL defensive tackles and defensive ends on it. So it's like you have to have talent and depth up front on the offensive line on that side. So is it caveman football? And I'm talking about, yes, does it win you a lot of games? And did the depth of the defensive line win OU games this past year? Yes and yes.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of in the same vein as like getting John Mateer more talent around him at at skill positions. I mean, hell, if he has like the pass blocking was fine. Like the pockets that John Mateer had were typically fine. Sometimes he would just bail on the play and get himself into a sack, which is his fault. But his strength as a quarterback is his dynamic ability, which includes his QB run ability. So if you just have better linemen that can move people out of the way at a better rate than what we saw last year with 3 freshman offensive linemen, then you're bringing to the table a more fully realized version of this is what makes John Mateer great. So everything kind of goes back to John. If you're saying somebody a position on offense, I just kind of keep making the connection to that helps John Mateer, which in theory helps the team. I mean, because I'm to the point now where, I mean, Michaela is a good player. I wonder if they stand to just maybe improve at that position, because Michael was brought in to be a backup and he ended up being better than Troy Everett. And we found out very quickly because Troy Everett did what Troy Everett does and he got hurt early on in the year, unfortunately. Did everybody else laugh at the once Sexton and then Troy Everett hit the portal? Did everybody else laugh at the tweets about, so who we're going to put on the injury report now?
I did not see that. It's very funny.
It's like, no. We'll have nothing to send into the SEC now. Like, no, nothing. They're like, really? Is Sexton? Oh, I guess he's gone. Okay. All right. Good talking to you. All righty then. Or what about punter? For his war crime, should Grayson Miller be supplanted via the portal?
It's war crimes.
Well,
No,
I am gonna say, like, that is one of those things where, like, mentally, like, that can wreck somebody, man. Like, I mean, I'd be thinking about it, or I'd have a plan B.
Yeah, I said it to you earlier, Brady. I said it to you earlier. We have to watch Grayson Miller. We will see you in Valhalla.
Ew. What a silly thing to say in front of a microphone. Not you, Matt. You were quoting.
Yes, sorry.
That was artistic what you just did. I mean, is Grayson Hype Man Harry in the chat? Is Grayson Miller a senior? I sure hope so. Now, I wouldn't know because Grayson Miller hasn't released a graphic where he says thank you, Oklahoma, blah, 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 blah. With that being said, I'm out of eligibility. So I'm going to the NFL draft. It's like, well, why are you announcing that? Thank you, Jaron Kanik, for putting out the first graphic where he doesn't imply that, I could come back, but I'm going to go to the NFL draft. Like, no, he's done. He's done. Real quick, was it a waste of Jaron Kanik's career?
Yeah.
Let's do the shock jock radio stuff. Peyton, did Jaron Kanik waste his career at linebacker?
Did he waste? I guess. I mean, from a retrospective look, I guess you would say yes at that point in time. Or no. I don't know. I'm trying to think about this is why I'm not on the radio. Could he potentially have a higher ceiling in the NFL if he had been at tight end the entire time? Sure. But he just couldn't read a defense. Couldn't read a gap. Couldn't figure out what to do from a linebacker perspective. But I don't know, man. I think he's just an extremely athletic guy who just doesn't really have a fit on the football field at the next level. So I'm not for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's tailor-made to be like a GA, right? Right, Alan? Like, he's going to be that next in line of, like, I'm going to be Brent Venables Jr.
Yeah, I mean, something like that. I kind of feel like maybe we saw what he could have been as a tight end, in all honesty, this season, just because I don't feel like what he was missing at that position was about not understanding the position. I just felt like it was physically he wasn't really able to, be the kind of blocker that you needed there. So you end up playing with the equivalent of a slot receiver. Like, yeah,
I just can't help but think that if he had just played receiver, just some pass catching position, whatever they would have characterized it, he'd have played with 2023 Dylan Gabriel. It just would have been better. It would have been better. What a shame, but oh well, at least he tried and he did well. It's weird he didn't catch a touchdown this year, but his quarterback was hurt and his quarterback sucked when he was hurt. So that probably explains it. What about kicker from Hype Man Harry? Well, I mean, you want to get Tate Sandell back, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Does he have eligibility? I don't even know.
I think he has
Like,
one
He got
year.
one more year.
Oh yeah, you bring him back then.
Yeah,
Bring
you
him back. Yeah, like whatever. I mean, none of us know how much kickers make. I mean, you kind of you give him a comical amount of like, man, that's pretty stupid. It's like, no, Tate Sandell won OU games last year, and I am not at all mad. Like when he missed that chip shot field goal, guys, I didn't react at all. I'm just like, at some point that was going to happen, and it's not our night. I felt bad for him that's how his season ended. I in no way think he's just now going to suck.
He didn't blow a fucking 17-point lead, so it wasn't his fault.
The hardest kick he had that night, he made.
Right.
That 51-yarder into the wind. The other two he missed, he had the wind at his back. It was a very significant wind. Anyone that was there, Matt, you were there. It was windy.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I was on the complete opposite side of the field at that point, but it looked like it went in from my vantage point. But then obviously I saw the TV copy later. I was like, okay, yeah, you missed it. It's all good.
Yeah, you get Tate Sandell back, and they've got Trace
yes.
Rudd, true freshman, coming in. Which I don't know kicker recruiting, but I don't think I'd want a freshman kicking. So get Tate Sandell.
Harry said he did miss the two biggest and most important kicks. Dude, he had a long list of kicks that he made that were big and important for the team. Yes, he missed two in the Alabama game. Yes,
he missed the kick. He missed the kick that could have got OU down a score, and then Alabama. I don't know. I can't remember what they did. They gave OU the ball back. If they're only up a score, I'm going to assume that they have more of an onus to try to move the fucking ball. And maybe they don't give OU the ball back. That's like the what if thing.
And he made the kicks that put OU in the position to have those important kicks that he missed. So it's like, he did more than his fair share. I don't know. I'm still kind of like, I go back and forth. Sometimes I really don't like having a good kicker. I want teams to go for it more. I want that to be more like,
yeah, I mean,
burn the lifeboats, like we get a touchdown here.
But if we have a defensive head coach, then I want the defensive head coach to be at like full capacity, and that includes having good special teams, because special teams is just an extension of defense.
No, sometimes you need that governor on your worst impulses. Like. You got to go for it, not to play conservative. But again, sometimes, And
maybe if Ben Arbuckle wasn't 30 years old, maybe he could be that guy. Maybe in year 2 he can do that. Maybe he'll feel like, okay, I know the stakes now, and I've been here for a year. I'm going to no, we need to fucking go for it. But again, I feel like the times that they did go for it, it ended in absolute disaster.
Yeah, it wasn't good. You're right. Yeah.
Just kick the damn thing. I did enjoy being in the stadium, and if OU was in position to have to kick a 65 or 70-yard field goal, there were 2 fans around me. Oh, field goal range. Yeah. Let's go get a touchdown though. One last OU question for you guys, and it's something that's been swimming around in my head for a few days, because I just really want to weigh the importance of the Texas game, and also to some extent the lack of Brent Venables having a postseason victory now 4 years into his head coaching tenure at OU. Would you feel better than you do now after a 10-3 college football playoff experience? Would you feel worse, or would you feel about the same if this scenario occurred instead? So Peyton, I'll start with you. What if OU beat Texas, they lose to Ole Miss, they lose to because it would really influence it in a bad way, I think, if I said if they lost to a shitty team. So let's say that they lose to Ole Miss, Bama in the regular season, and let's just, I don't know. Let's just say they go 9-3, but they beat Texas. 9-3 and they beat Texas. And they win a college football playoff game. or not a college football playoff, right? They win a bowl game. So Brent beats Texas, gets his first bowl win. Would you feel better, worse, or neutral compared to what we have now?
I would feel, I guess technically I would feel worse because I expected Oklahoma to go 8-4. And so for them to go 10-2, get into the playoffs at that point in time was an extreme over accomplishment from what I expected them to do or thought they could do. So at that point in time, I would assume I would have to feel worse about what it is now, because getting to the playoffs proves a point, right? Like, we made it through here. We've done it. We are a playoff team. We are a playoff program. We played an extremely difficult conference record. We played an sneaky, difficult, non-conference, like what Illinois State went to play for the national championship in the FSC or whatever. I mean, FCS or whatever. But it's like you had a good season all the way through, right, on that side. And then the Texas stuff, I don't take the psychological damage from Texas fans like Brady. You talked about, like, if somebody says, like, hey, 49-0, it's like, okay, great. Cool. You were the number one team in the nation and you didn't make the playoffs. To me, like, whatever, at that point in time. To me, I just look at it and say, well, Brent Venables has brought an actual complete football team to Dallas one time and he won. So it's like, how about we get that part first? How about we show up with a healthy team?
That is true.
There. So that's something I'm not too worried about. Yes, the record does suck, but I'm not necessarily worried about, can Brent win that game? He's proven he can. The loss is in my mind. I can just do this. I can, if you're watching the stream, but if you're not, I'm just hand waving. I'm like, I can just hand wave, like, got hurt, didn't have a thing, yada, 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 yada on that side. I think getting to a playoff means something. I think hosting a playoff meant something. I think that meant something for the program. Look what they did for the for the pregame show and did all the stuff. I think that is a big thing there, because not only is it, oh, you're doing 9-3, good job, smack, pat yourself on the back, you get to keep your job for a year. It's 10-2. This is who Brent is. This is what the team is. It's tough. It kicks ass. It was a full justification of Brent's style, what he wants his program to be, and now it's just like, there should be more people like, MJJ wanting to come in and play for Oklahoma. These guys who are like, hey, I got one more year. Kendall Daniel, like, hey, I got one more year. I want to play at this and I want to go get it done. And look what they did last year, a year early. Maybe I can get in and be that help to get them to win a game or go over the top. So I think it's something like that on that side.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. Like, you want the 10-2 in the college football playoff because it's OU. You want a chance to play for a championship, and that's what OU had at 9-3, not in the playoff. Yeah, you don't have that chance. So at the same time,
well, I mean, beating your rivals is super, super important. But
yeah,
I'm super smug about saying, well, John Mateer was hurt. He had blood on his hand. What are you going to do? You beat his
blood on
I can
his
easily
hand.
fan talk my way out of that. Yeah.
The children. There's children in this game.
I had to cover my wife's eyes. I was like, "Don't look, baby." Sorry.
I'm sorry, dude. This to me is not even a question. It's a chance to be in the college football playoff, a chance to play for a national title, right? Obviously, didn't happen. OU loses, right? You didn't really come close to it. To me, this is like, and again, I know OU's 0-5 all time in college football playoffs. Believe breaking news to anyone who hasn't seen that. Not like every media outlet didn't tweet that out after the game. They had that saved to the draft.
Thunder going 0-3 against the Spurs.
Right. Yeah. We'll see you in June, maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
Or will they?
Or will they? No, I get it. I fully get it. It's like there were some times when the Lincoln Riley days where people are like, man, I'm sick of this shit. They go into the playoff and losing. I'm sick of this shit every year. Well, dude, as a competitor, that's what you want. You want a chance to be in the dance to try to go play for a national title. Like, yeah, that's the competitive thing to do. Like, yeah, losing Texas, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks going down to the Cotton Bowl and seeing all those smug faces in burnt orange for the entire day. Like, it sucks. It's a shitty feeling, but you want to go to the playoff. Like, you that's the ultimate goal, is try to compete to to win a national championship. They didn't win. That's fine. OU's going to win a college football playoff game one day. It was not this year. They're not going to go. They're not going to go over a million, right? They're going to win one. But write this down. You can put me down for this. I'm known for my hot takes. OU is going to win a college football playoff game in the next 100 years. Book it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's I don't know. The thing is just maybe within the context of OU's lost, these games to Texas, in the manner in which they've lost makes it worse. Maybe if they had just lost in a more respectable manner, I wouldn't even entertain this question. But it's definitely something that I've been thinking about because I mean, let's try to just mirror Texas' season. They lose to, they didn't play Ohio. Like Ohio State's not going to be Michigan because Ohio State's much better than Michigan. But let's say that Texas loses on the road to Florida. Let's say that the OU loses to South Carolina. They lose to Ole Miss, who ends up being the best team on their schedule, in my opinion. And then they also lose to Alabama. So that's like Texas losing at Florida, Ohio State, and Georgia on the road. But, in this scenario, they beat Texas. It's like, well, it's definitely a step up from where they were last year. But I think why it's 10-2 and how it ended up playing out is just because OU not only had to improve, they had to further distance themselves from how bad they were in 2024, which is why this is the correct answer. But Alan, is there anything you agree with, disagree with, or wanted to add?
No, to me, the gain to 10 wins for this team, to me is just it's an achievement. It's the best thing that Brent Venables has done at OU. I guess you could say the same thing if they had won 9 games and beaten Texas. Maybe you could say that was the best. But I feel like at 10 wins, playing the playoff, we're talking about one step above that.
Yeah.
And from a perception standpoint, a program perception standpoint, a marketability standpoint, a momentum standpoint, no, it was better to have that opportunity. It's better to be on that stage. It was better to win those games than making that trade. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with what Brent needed to do, not just saving his job, but in the manner of which he did it, like obviously everything's kind of going in the correct direction that we kind of thought it was going after 2023. And then it hit it just fell down into a pit, partly because of Brent Venables, but he was able to course correct and get us back onto a better footing than after 2023. Cause like you said, this is the best that he's done. Like this is the best season he's had, even better than 2023. I think it just really kind of comes down to, can OU still improve off of this? Can they build off of this? Because, like the chatter about OU not winning a playoff game, like that's for us, that's for fans to feel bad about, or that's for fans to laugh at, opposing fans. Because, well, what's the context of that 0-5 mark? Well, OU played the best college football team probably ever in the Peach Bowl in LSU. They played an amazing Alabama team with a bunch of NFL talent in the Orange Bowl. They played one of the best Clemson teams that they've ever had. So they played all these prime in their program's history teams. Now, as it stands, like OU needs to just be better in the regular season so they position themselves better in terms of college football playoff seeding, because at some point we will get to play like a Tulane or a James Madison or a somebody, because Texas fans that are like, yeah, we've got playoff wins. I would have loved OU to play fucking 9-3 Clemson or fucking Arizona State. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
like, congratulations.
Yeah.
Because the other part of their whole conversation is, oh, we were a few plays away from playing in the national championship in the other in 2 other years. And it's like, the only reason why you were a few plays away against Washington was because their running back got hurt and couldn't drag himself off the field and the clock stopped. And then tomfoolery happened. And then congratulations, you almost beat Ohio State. Almost, which is a great thing for Texas historically, because they don't get there a lot, but they almost did. So, yeah, OU just needs to be better so they can play the 9-3 ACC champion in the first round, or play the Big 12 champ in the second round, like lose me. OU should have beaten Alabama. It's a bad look because OU beat Alabama in the regular season. They had them at home and they had a 17-point lead. It's a bad look. At the same time, it is Alabama. So why doesn't Texas go out and beat Alabama or a team like that in the playoffs? Then they can tell, I guess. Anything else, gents, about the OU Sooners? Well, let's just discuss the big coaching hire that happened, at least officially, since we've last met. And that would be Kyle Whittingham leaving. He had already left Utah. He is now officially the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, who OU will meet in Ann Arbor in week 2 of the 2026 season. Peyton, does this make the matchup more interesting? Does it make it more difficult for you? I think whomever it might have been, it's like it's going to be a new head coach in week 2. So it's not a very good spot for them, but the mystery factor has just increased tenfold because now we don't know what to really expect.
I think we should know what to expect from a Kyle Whittingham led football team, and they'll probably be what they would have been next year, regardless. They're going to try to run the football. They're going to try to push Oklahoma around. It's going to be a tough-nosed team, tough-nosed defense, all that kind of stuff. The only thing that if Oklahoma fans are looking at the 2026 schedule right now, and you're looking at Michigan, you're wanting to know what that team is, the only thing you need to do is check out Michigan from January 2nd to like January 10th. Who they lose, who they get, and then you have a concept of the team, right, on that side of it. And go from there, because I know they had some portal guys come out, and it's really rough on that side of the situation and everything. And then also, how easy will it be to negatively recruit this? I mean, was this a 4-year hire? I mean, it seems kind of on that side, but just from that perspective, I'm not really for sure Oklahoma fans or Oklahoma itself should worry about Michigan any less than they were going to anyway, because it's going to have a similar style. It's going to be run the football. It's going to be get some tight ends out there. It's going to, it's going to be a tough, just a hard-nosed, tough football, game on that side. So on that side, from a secret closeted Michigan fan, I think it's a great hire. I think it's a 5-year hire, but it gives you time to figure something out. And hopefully the next guy doesn't, try to strangle a mistress. So you go from there.
It can give you 5 years of stability.
Yes, 5 years of stability. And I get he's 66, but the quote solid verbal, to look as good as he does at 66, I would give a lot.
I mean, yeah, Kyle Whittingham's a handsome old man. That's a good-looking old man. Hopefully I'm that good-looking when I'm that old. I mean, really, the matchup is always just going to come down to it's Bryce Underwood in year 2. So you're going to see a better version of him than what you saw in his second game ever as a college football quarterback when he came to Norman. So that alone just kind of makes it like, with what we have to replace potentially on defense in our second game, like that's a big question mark. Can they corral Bryce Underwood with the talent that he has? I mean, Allen is Kyle Whittingham at Michigan. I mean, Peyton, obviously a little bit more optimistic about it than I am, because I'm just like 5-6 years ago, this would have been a great hire. I don't know about now, because the interesting thing to me is, did Whittingham truly leave Utah because of the private equity and how that just maybe leaves a bad taste in his mouth about how the sport is being played now? Like, who's pulling strings?
I don't know, but if that's his problem, man. I mean, like Michigan, don't they have
I know
Fortune 500 CEOs and stuff?
That's where I was going to go. Was like, well, if you think, you stand a better chance to like run a program in the traditional sense if you're at a Michigan or in Oklahoma, because you can still recruit, you can still develop and lean on that without having to just be like Ole Miss and Texas Tech. And just the only reason why we are good is the portal and outside money, if it exists. At the same time, like Bryce Underwood is there because a billionaire gave him like $2 million, right?
I think it was like 12.
Larry Ellison.
Yeah.
The third richest man in the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know if you believe like what's been said out there. I mean, it sounds like Whittingham's time at Utah had just kind of run its course. So, in that sense, Michigan kind of got a lucky break if you think that Whittingham's a good coach and will do well there. I don't know. When I look at this, I don't think it changes my take on how OU will approach the game or how big of a test it will be. You're pretty much getting, you're getting what you're getting, and the players, so long as most of the, the checks are clearing and all that stuff, they'll be the same, right? So,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, from my understanding, it was a little bit of Kyle for the last few years being like, well, maybe I'll hang it up this year. Then he's like, well, I'll come back one more year. It's and then I guess Utah kind of Mac Browned them. They're like, okay, we're done. Let's just go next thing.
Man, he's their Darryl Royal, because I think Whittingham play at BYU.
Yes.
And then he went to the rival school and then became their best coach ever. Do we have any college football playoff thoughts, guys? I'm excited for the matchups. I think the winner of Georgia Ole Miss is going to be the national champion. I've thought that the last few weeks. I always thought that the winner of OU Bama was going to be in a good spot against Indiana, because Indiana, what's the emotional letdown following them getting the monkey off their back and beating Ohio State? What happens if they're able to play a team that either, if it's Oklahoma, can punch them in the mouth defensively, or a team like Alabama that can challenge them offensively? What's that going to equate to in the Rose Bowl? Tech and Oregon, what happens with Tech when they play someone with more talent than them, which is going to be the first time that has occurred this season? And also, it's Miami at 11 a.m. So which team is going to have more hungover players? That team will probably lose. Miami, Ohio State, fun nostalgia, nothing more than that. Alan, any big thoughts about the second round?
No, I'm kind of interested to see what Oregon does. That's the one team that I look at that I think could maybe make some noise in terms of not being Georgia or Ohio State and winning this. But I'm also with you in the sense I would have liked to have seen OU get the opportunity to play Indiana.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of looking at that one. I realize, I know Indiana's played well all year. I know Alabama isn't the same Alabama that we have come to know for more than a decade now. I still look at that though and think that Bama's got a shot at winning there. I would have liked to see you get that shot, but
Peyton, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think this weekend will show that we're on the crash course for that Indiana Ohio State rematch. That's getting a little bit ahead of time, but I think these two teams have shown themselves to be the two best teams in the nation, right? From this point, I think Indiana's earned it. I think they will beat Alabama by double digits, just because Alabama's not really all that explosive. Indiana's pretty good at stopping the explosive. I think Indiana can handle that game from that side of it. And then Miami's just I don't know, man. I don't know about that side. The only team I think you could throw a wrench in it is Georgia. Does seem to have become Georgia again in the last 3 weeks. So maybe that kind of kicks it all in there.
I know. Oh, he's got to go to Athens next year. Oh, God. Man. Oh, man. Yeah, it'd been great to see OU play Indiana, but, we don't get that chance. Matt, what's your big one?
Man, I'm really looking forward to Oregon and Texas Tech, man. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I want to see whenever they tackle each other if NIL money flies out of their pockets like the Sonic rings or something like that between those two teams. See if that happens. But no, I am looking forward to that one. I do think it's tough to bet against Georgia right now for me, man. It just feels like they're figuring it out. It's almost like they needed that Georgia Tech game where they won by 7 and only threw for 70 yards to sort of wake them up. And seeing what they did to Alabama in the SEC championship game, if that Georgia shows up, I know how good Indiana and Ohio State have been this year, but that's always in the back of my mind. If that version of Georgia shows up, no one's beating them in my mind. but that version's going to show up.
You must be the only person that is excited for Texas Tech and Oregon. I've not heard one person say that I am excited for this game.
I'm excited, man. Tech's defense against that offense, probably not even probably, it is the best offense they've faced all year. So that's going to get put to the test rather quickly. But no, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Honor compels me to root against Oregon, but then that same honor is like, no, Texas Tech, you don't get to buy your way into the dance. You don't get to succeed where OU failed, because the Big 12 never prepared OU for a championship run in the playoffs, and it will not do it for you, especially the first time you play someone with more talent than you in Oregon. So I guess that means I think Oregon's going to win, although I'm not going. Can both teams lose? I wish that was in the rules. Let's get the NFL rules for just that game. I do want to ask you guys one more random OU thing, because we had people in the chat discussing, maybe not this specifically, but maybe as like a sneak peek for next week's episode, the first episode of 2026, I might add. Yay, Happy New Year. OU course corrected with their 10-2 regular season, 10-3 overall record, getting to the college football playoff. That was, of course, it was symbolized in part by their recruiting class for 2026 being in the depths of hell for the majority because of negative recruiting, and like, hey, they're going to fire that staff. Nobody was committing to OU, and they were able to salvage that by winning games and developing players in season and salvage it to a respectable relative to the sport, not necessarily relative to OU's recruiting standards, but to a like mid-teens, 15, 16, 17, wherever they ended up ranked according to some recruiting services out there for the 2026 class. So in order for OU, for Brent Venables to kind of maintain this good feeling that they've been able to capture, the momentum that they've been able to capture with their 10-3 record, Alan, I'll start this with you. What is the floor for OU in 2026 with what we know now? To me, it seems like anything south of 9-3 would be a failure. 8-4 would be like, hey, technically back-to-back winning seasons, first time in your career, Brent, good job. But to me, I'm like 9-3 is the floor, because you cannot go from 10-3 to, especially if you get John Mateer back, you bring all these guys back, you cannot fall back that far, if that makes sense. Because to me, that would be a sign of maybe 2025 was just like they found some momentum, and it's not necessarily indicative of how good Brent Venables can be. If they at least go 9-3, I'm like, the schedule was tough. They missed some games that they probably got last year. Just wasn't in the cards for us this year. But overall, we're going in the same direction that we thought we were going at the end of 2025. If they at least go 9-3,
I guess. I mean, I'd have to think about it, looking at the schedule and all that. I mean, 7-5 certainly doesn't sound good. And it just feels like that would be maybe a bridge too far. But yeah, no, winning 8 or 9 games, a lot of it, again, and I say this a lot, so much of football, like a lot of that win-loss stuff, really it comes down to stuff that you maybe don't control or stuff that isn't repeatable, but how you play. Like OU, I want to see OU. I thought OU was a solid, good team this year. I want to see a better team next year more than anything else. I'm more concerned with seeing that than I am with necessarily setting some number of specific wins they need to have.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to say, like, 7-5. That's getting into the realm of we're taking a step back potentially, even though we technically had a winning season. But I mean, Matt, are you like putting 10 toes down with a record, like nothing worse than this, or are you kind of in Alan's boat?
Man, I would like to say 9-3. Like, I would like to say, hey, you went 2 steps forward, right? You went 2 steps forward with the 10-2 this year is more like 5 steps forward, in my opinion. Let's not take 5 steps back, right? If you're going to take a step back, make sure it's just one. Make sure it's just 1 step back, and can't keep doing this. All right, 7 wins, 6 wins, whatever you want to call it. can't keep doing that. I just, if you're going to take a step back, make sure it's one, not a full 5 steps back from the 5 steps you took forward this season.
No kidding. Like you always want to. You're not going to win every game, but you can always not lose. So at least try not to always to be losing. But just Peyton, before I get your answer, just to reset the table. Week 2 at Michigan, week 4 at Georgia, bye week 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, week 6 in the Cotton Bowl. And again, that bye week, the week before Texas, that means you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive games to end your season. And that is Texas, Kentucky, at Mississippi State, South Carolina, at Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, at Missouri. So, in your opinion, what is the floor for success, to characterize 2026 as a successful season where OU and Brent Venables can maintain their standing amongst recruiting, amongst coaching in the SEC, programs in the SEC? What's the floor for you?
I mean, the floor is 8-4 at that time. I do think that Michigan, Georgia, Texas area is tough. I don't think it's world-ending or anything on that side, but it's a tough stretch for Oklahoma. They need to find a way. If they're a legitimate playoff team, they need to find a way to go 2-1 out of that stretch, and that might be tough, on that side, because these teams are also going to be good. I think which I guess theoretically that means you need to split Georgia, Texas, to get that on that side of it. Since I already kind of seem to feel like Oklahoma should be pretty good against Michigan. The second half of that season, I know it's you can just list the names off, but I don't know. I think next year's, the schedule seems a lot nicer to me personally compared to what I looked at this year before everything kind of unveiled and injuries happened and all that kind of stuff. So, no, I think they need to at least go 8-4. I want to see a 10-2, obviously. I want to see a 12-0, 12 in Oklahoma, obviously on that side of it. But to me, it's just about being better, right? There's some stuff how Oklahoma won these games this year, how Oklahoma got to 10-2, which gives me concern, makes me think about stuff. Hey, there's a lot of these teams sometimes it bounces back on them, right? These one-score games, stuff like that on that side. But luckily for Oklahoma, I wouldn't say they're all that turnover lucky to begin with, because John Mateer sure did equal that out. So maybe they weren't overly turnover lucky on that side, and they won the games because they were just really good on defense, right? They were really good on there, and they didn't have the ability to land knockout punches, right, on the offense. So, if they get a wide receiver, they get a guard, they can run the ball a little bit, they can hit somebody over the top. Now all of a sudden they can land a knockout shot, which they couldn't do this year. So I think it's more about just getting better, generating that side of it. I want to see stuff when I pull my, power ratings and stuff like that. I want to see them climb that and be a little more efficient. But they have to get to 8-4. They have to get to 9-3, because that's your floor now. Oklahoma. You've proven you can do it. Now, the sad part, quote unquote, about being paid, $7, $8, $9 million to be a head coach at these types of schools, you have to do it again. Then you have to do it again. Then you have to do it again. So that's where I am with Brent Venables and OU at this point in time, where a step back it's like, what are we doing here? We gave you a full 4 years. We got the whole thing. We did everything. We did a whole NFL, structure around you to get everything done. Like, what are we doing? If it doesn't happen, if there's a big step back next year, then I think you flip the staff. But that's just me at that point in time.
Yeah, one little thing you said, turnovers being fluky. I was trying to recall, what turnovers did OU just kind of get lucky that they happened? Because the majority of the turnovers OU forced, they truly forced them.
But that's not how it works, though. It's more about for example, if you fumbled the ball 10 times and you recover 7 of them, you got lucky. It doesn't work like that. Over time that evens out, that's the luck involved in it, right?
I get what you're
From a
saying.
pure mathematical standpoint, that's
Right.
the luck.
Like how the
You're
world
only,
works.
You can only
Yeah.
get X amount of those.
Well, okay, I get what you guys are saying, but how many turnovers did you force in 10? Because they didn't force any for the first 6 games, or the first.
No,
I mean,
OU was not a lucky turnover team this year. Like
They
in the
weren't.
aggregate,
Not at
no.
all.
yeah. Well, just from the visual standpoint, I guess is what I'm trying to talk about. Like I always kind of fall back on just watching the game and kind of dismissing the mathematical equations with respect to it, because like metrics have their place, they're important. But I just recall Peyton Bowen jumping 10 feet in the air and snatching a ball out of the end zone against LSU. Like it's like that motherfucker made a play. I just remember Taylor Wine destroying Ty Simpson and blowing the ball up, and OU had 4 players around them. I guess they could have kicked the ball out of bounds, because we've seen OU players do that a zillion times where they're just like, I can't get it. I can only recall like 2 turnovers where it's just like, yeah, that was just a bad throw for no reason. And it was Aguilar's second interception to Robert Sears Jennings at the end of the first half. It was just a bad, like his first pick that Peyton Bowen had, that was him trying to make a play, and he underestimated Peyton Bowen, and Peyton Bowen made the play. The pick he threw to Robert Sears Jennings, like, yeah, what the hell are you doing? And then maybe the interception by the punter on South Carolina's fake punt, because it's like, what the hell? Everything else was just absolutely like, OU forced the issue, or they've got dudes that can make the play.
I guess so OU ended up -3 in turnover margin.
Thanks,
I guess
John.
I think my thing would be, because you're talking about the skill it takes to do it. When you do the math of tackles for loss, sacks, all that sort of stuff, Oklahoma, looking at the numbers, would be rather unskillful at creating turnovers, right? The amount of pressure, the amount of havoc they created, and they only forced 4 fumbles. There's probably the team's actually underdeveloped in that skill set, if we want to believe on that side. They need to be watching the Peanut Tillman punches or whatever to kind of figure that out. But they were an extremely aggressive football team that did not generate the turnovers at a level in which a team that had the success it did on the defensive line and tackles for loss and sacks should have created. So I would actually argue that they were extremely unlucky and unskilled at the generation of turnovers. So from that perspective, I would say anytime they got something, it would have been lucky, I guess. But no, I get what you're saying. They were manufacturing these. It wasn't somebody just falls down. It wasn't like Jackson Arnold versus Missouri last year, where he just like dropped the football randomly, something like that. So yeah, I see your point of it, because it does feel like your team's being attacked, or the wins are being denigrated because you went to Alabama and won, they went to Tennessee and won. They did these things, and people were so quick, like, nah, that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, really, what happened was, like, if you want to look at it that way, OU should have been beating teams worse at the beginning of the season, but they weren't generating turnovers then that they did generate later. They happened to come against Alabama as opposed to Illinois State or Temple, and that's where the disconnect is.
Yeah.
So like the OU didn't need the turnovers that they should have gotten earlier in the year, and they happened to get them at an opportune time, I think would be the way I would look at it.
Should they have only had 2 more turnovers? Because I'm just thinking about the drop interceptions against Jackson Arnold and Auburn. And they were in similar fashion too, where Peyton Bowen jumps the route and it's underthrown to him, so that's why he drops it. And then Kendall Daniels dropped a ball that was tipped by Peyton Bowen again, if I recall. And the ball just is right there, and Kendall Daniels doesn't pick it off. I can't remember another instance where OU, the other example would be Kobe McKenzie kicking the ball at Alabama and not picking it up. But the next play was the pick six, so they got that anyway.
Well, I mean, I think the way
interference.
Yeah. Well, I think the way
could have had one at Alabama.
Yeah, but I think the way to look at it too, though, would be like anytime they got their hands on a ball, like a ball got batted at the line of scrimmage, or Anytime, that type of stuff. Like, I think that the stat is something like 20% of all passes that are defended that way, or when a defense gets their hands on the ball, end up turning into interceptions. So, like, for every batted ball they had, did it end up in an interception or not? Would be another way to look at it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
they or could they have? To me, is a different thing. Yeah, the two Auburn passes should. Well, I guess you can only get one if you get the first one, or should have gotten. For the amount of times Oklahoma sacked a quarterback and to only get like 2 sack fumbles or whatever is, to me, that's where I'm like, any one of those, could have been flipped here on that side. To not, Jackson Arnold being sacked 10 times and not fumbling the football is like an amazing accomplishment for his side. It's like he just got blindsided so many times. His own fault, obviously. But no, Oklahoma. You see these quarterbacks are just getting smashed and their arms all over their head, and they held on to the football. I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah, Ty Simpson
on that side.
Ty Simpson holding on to the ball when Marvin Jones Jr. just decks him like blindside, or even Kip Lewis at the beginning of the game. It's just, sometimes quarterbacks make plays. Our Mason Thomas hit Arch Manning from behind, and Arch did kind of drop the ball, but he kind of like caught it in midair as he was falling down for the sack. That's just, bad luck. I always forget Alabama did fumble twice against us in the playoff. There was one fumble where it was just incredible, like the running back fumble. I think it was Jam Miller, because the other guy's actually good. Why they give Jam Miller any carries is a mystery to me, because he sucks, and he fumbled the ball against OU, and how OU didn't recover it. Again, it's just fumble luck. That's where I'll defer to you guys. And then I think Ryan Williams fumbled on his one catch, like in the middle of the field, and he was still able to recover it. Maybe it wasn't a fumble. There was definitely that one by Jam Miller, but unlucky. But that's where we'll leave it. That was a tease for next week, guys, because I do want to get into because hopefully by next week, the portal will have been opened, like Peyton mentioned at the beginning of the show. Hopefully that there's some news that we can actually react to instead of all this, what do you want? What should happen? What could happen? I want to react to some actual good stuff, and hopefully it's good news. I don't want to react to this actual solid starter that we all penciled in for next year is gone. I don't want that to happen. Nobody wants that to happen. But hopefully next Tuesday we'll have that, so we can kind of flesh out this talking point a little bit more. But hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining the live stream tonight. Like we said at the top of the show, this is typically exclusive for patrons in terms of the live stream aspect. If you would like to consistently jump on the show, feel free to go check out patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. You can try it out for free for a month. You don't have to donate anything starting off. You can give it a try for free for a month to see if you'd like to do it. But we'll probably do like one free show in terms of the live stream, maybe once a month, maybe at the end of each month, final week of the final show of the month, we'll do a free one for everybody. But again, it's the Tuesday pod, so everyone gets to listen to it for free after we put it up, or after we hit record. After we hit stop recording, I should say, as my hair looks funny. I have to think about how I look now that we're on camera. But yeah, you just have to wait for us to stop recording, and then you can see it on YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can always listen to it there. Check out keyholepod.com for Blatant Homerism. That would be Alan Kennedy's weekly column. Go check that out. Really sad we don't have any more post-game thoughts to look forward to. And everybody, yes, thank you to patrons and free listeners alike for jumping on in the chat. We appreciate the conversation. Happy New Year, everybody. 2026. Woo, woo, woo. Hopefully get a national championship this year. That would be a lot of fun. And also just as a little, I guess, not a plug, but as a little hint, going to be doing some Patreon exclusive podcasts over the next few weeks with some media friends. Try to get those recorded maybe this week, maybe next week. It's just, it's that time of year where everyone's kind of busy. So trying to get those scheduled out, mapped out, so that our patrons have some extra podcast goodies to listen to throughout the off season. So looking forward to that. So again, patreon.com/through the keyhole. But thank you everybody for listening, watching along and singing along and doing whatever the F along that you guys want to do. But for Peyton Guthrie, Matt Burton, Alan Kenny, myself, Brady Trantham, thank you for listening to Through the Keyhole. Until next time, boom, har!
Set up.